Embracing your most devastating chaotic failures as literal causes for celebration might sound counterintuitive, but an emerging intersection of nonlinear dynamics and behavioral psychology suggests it could be the ultimate catalyst for human empowerment. We are looking at Chapter 5 of Joe Bandel's work, The Oak Matrix Unleashed, titled All of Life is a Celebration. Bandel presents a framework where the present moment acts as a boundless canvas, and emotional struggle is a form of bioelectrical energy that we can harness. He uses the metaphor of an oak tree weathering a storm to illustrate how a person can absorb chaotic inputs, like pain or terror, and convert them into explosive personal growth. This is not about forcing a smile during a tragedy. It is a calculated, structural approach to psychological resilience.
Bandel frames this concept as warrior wisdom. He argues that the masses often seek unearned rewards, which dams up the natural flow of life's energy. In contrast, the empowered individual celebrates the effort and the struggle itself. He describes the present moment as a lonely point of awareness that has the capacity to expand and encompass all that exists. When you experience a setback, your instinct might be to resist or suppress the negative emotion. Bandel suggests that this resistance creates a dam. If you instead celebrate the effort and acknowledge the reality of the struggle without judgment, you break that dam. The energy flows, and you experience what he calls a chaotic leap to a higher level of stability and empowerment.
The idea of a chaotic leap points directly to chaos theory, which historically belongs to mathematics and physics, not necessarily emotional regulation. But recent psychological research has started modeling the human mind as a nonlinear dynamical system. A study published on the application of chaos theory in psychology details how our emotional states are highly sensitive to initial conditions. Small contextual factors or minor stressors can trigger intense emotional reactions. The literature suggests that instead of imposing uniform stability across our emotions, we should look for critical moments of vulnerability. These moments are bifurcation points, where the mind system reaches a critical zone and reorganizes into a more adaptive state.
That aligns with Bandel's concept of emotional energy building up to a release. In a chaotic system, tension accumulates until it reaches a threshold. If you try to control or suppress that tension through conscious manipulation, you remain stuck in a state of suffering. If you accept the tension and allow it to run its course, the system naturally reorganizes. Bandel ties this to a concept of duality. He uses the imagery of male and female energies, describing the expansive outward reach of an oak tree's branches as the male element and the containing inward focus of the roots as the female element. Empowerment, in his view, requires the loving embrace of both.
You need the containing resilience to endure the struggle and the expansive capacity to celebrate the victory.
This framework of accepting the struggle rather than fighting it mirrors the psychological concept of radical acceptance. Marsha Linehan developed radical acceptance in the 1980s as a core component of dialectical behavior therapy, or DBT. Linehan, who integrated Western behavioral science with Eastern Zen practices, posited that suffering is the direct result of non-acceptance. The formula often cited in DBT is that pain, combined with non-acceptance, equals suffering. Radical acceptance means looking squarely at reality, including injustice and powerlessness, without attempting to deny or avoid it. It is not passive acquiescence or giving up. It is acknowledging the starting point so you can take effective action.
Linehan's work provides a clinical foundation for what Bandel describes as worshiping life's unfolding moments. Bandel encourages his readers to pause in a difficult moment, feel its pulse, and extract its lesson. He calls this moment worship. This practice forces you to confront the reality of the situation without the filter of logic's paradoxes, which he argues distort truth. By radically accepting the terror or the pain of the moment, you stop fighting the reality of your environment. You allow the emotional data to process. This mirrors how Tara Brach later popularized radical acceptance outside the clinical setting, emphasizing the need to see reality clearly, to break out of what she termed the trance of unworthiness.
The challenge there is the distinction between acceptance and complacency. If someone is stuck in a toxic work environment or an abusive relationship, telling them to celebrate their circumstances or radically accept their reality sounds dangerous. It risks validating the abuse or suggesting that the victim should find joy in their subjugation. Bandel's text asserts that we should rejoice in the now's glory. How do we reconcile the celebration of adversity with the imperative to change harmful situations?
That tension is central to the application of these theories. In DBT, radical acceptance is explicit about safety. Accepting that you are being mistreated does not mean you accept that you must remain in danger. It means you stop saying, "This should not be happening to me," and start saying, "This is happening to me. What is my next move?" Bandel's notion of celebration is somewhat provocative, but it functions similarly. He is not advocating for the celebration of the abuse itself. He is advocating for the celebration of your own awareness and your own effort to navigate the chaos. You celebrate the resilience that the pain demands of you. The celebration is the refusal to be broken.
This transforms the narrative from one of victimization to one of agency. That shift in narrative is the bedrock of post-traumatic growth, a concept developed by psychologists Richard Tedeschi and Lawrence Calhoun in the mid-1990s. Their research demonstrated that individuals who endure severe psychological struggle often experience significant positive transformations. According to Tedeschi, a large majority of survivors report growth in specific domains, a renewed appreciation for life, deeper relationships, new possibilities, enhanced personal strength, and spiritual change. This growth does not erase the trauma or the distress. The distress and the growth coexist as parallel processes.
The coexistence of distress and growth is the duality Bandel emphasizes. You cannot have the expansive outward growth without the containing inward experience of the struggle. Tedeschi and Calhoun noted that the trauma itself does not cause the growth. The growth comes from the cognitive process of rebuilding one's fundamental assumptions after they have been shattered by the event. Bandel frames this as the shedding of old leaves to sprout new ones. The storm strips away your previous logic-bound understanding of the world. You are left with the lonely spark of awareness in the present moment. From that bare canvas, you construct a new, more robust worldview.
The adversarial growth model supports this mechanism. When a person faces a traumatic event, they must either integrate the new, painful information into their existing belief system, or they must alter their beliefs entirely. The psychological literature indicates that individuals who positively accommodate this trauma-related information can experience profound psychological growth. This requires cognitive openness. People who are willing to reconsider their belief systems are more likely to achieve this growth.
Bandel's prescribed daily exercises like the canvas expansion or flow check seem designed to cultivate this exact type of cognitive openness.
Bandits' exercises force the individual to interact with their environment and their internal state deliberately. The canvas expansion asks you to pause in the present, identify sensory inputs, and journal the joy found in one of them. This trains the mind to locate anchor points of stability within a chaotic emotional landscape. It is a practical application of finding the strange attractors in a nonlinear dynamic system. By focusing on a specific, tangible element of the present, you prevent the emotional energy from spiraling into destructive rumination. You channel the bioelectrical energy into a structured observation, which initiates the leap to a new stable state.
This biological framing is intriguing. Bandel refers to life's energy as a sexual or bioelectrical force, pulsing in the now. While the terminology is esoteric, it maps onto the physiological reality of emotion. Emotions are multifaceted whole-body responses.
They involve coordinated changes in subjective experience, behavior, and peripheral physiology. The American Psychological Association notes that trauma and recovery involve complex neurobiological processes. For instance, studies on Hurricane Katrina survivors found variants in the RGS2 gene, which is linked to fear-related disorders, interacted with hurricane exposure to predict post-traumatic growth. The body is literally wiring itself to process and adapt to the chaotic inputs.
That biological adaptation is what Bandel means by transforming into a higher state of being, or what he terms becoming a god or goddess in the now. The terminology is grand, but the underlying mechanism is physiological adaptation. When you release the dams of fear and judgment, you allow the physiological processes of emotion to complete their cycle. A spontaneous laugh with a friend, as Bandel uses in his examples, generates an actual biochemical shift. It releases tension and fosters social connection, which is one of Tedeschi and Calhoun's key domains for post-traumatic growth. By embracing the people around us as teachers and mirrors, we facilitate mutual empowerment.
The concept of mutual empowerment through shared struggle brings us back to the oak tree grove metaphor. Bandel suggests that just as oaks in a grove teach each other the lessons of the wind, humans grow by sharing their lessons and receiving them in turn. This requires a level of vulnerability that is often suppressed in a society that values effortless success. Bandel critiques the masses for seeking unearned rewards and avoiding the fight. If you insulate yourself from all chaos and avoid every storm, you never activate the bifurcation points necessary for profound structural reorganization.
Insulation from chaos creates fragility. If a system is never subjected to stress, it loses its adaptive capacity. Psychological research into resilience shows that individuals with some prior experience managing moderate adversity often develop better coping skills and greater confidence. They are better equipped to handle severe trauma because they have mapped out their internal terrain during smaller storms. Bandel's philosophy demands that we stop viewing effort and struggle as punishments. They are the mechanisms of cumulative victory.
Every failed project or shattered expectation provides the raw material for the next phase of growth.
It is a demanding philosophy. It requires the individual to abandon the comfort of playing the victim and assume total responsibility for their internal state, regardless of the external circumstances. Radical acceptance, post-traumatic growth, and Bandel's celebration of the present all converge on this single point. The locus of control must reside within. The storm will happen. The chaos will intrude. The only variable you govern is whether you dam up the energy in futile resistance or allow it to flow through you, breaking down outdated structures and forging new strength.
That is the essence of his message. The present moment is the only arena where action is possible. By rejecting the paralyzing paradoxes of logic that keep us trapped in the past or anxious about the future, we engage directly with the raw energy of life. We learn to synthesize the pain of the struggle with the radiance of the victory. We accept the dual nature of existence and use the friction between the opposites to generate momentum. It is a strenuous path, but it offers a profound alternative to quiet desperation.
The synthesis of chaos, acceptance, and deliberate celebration provides a potent framework for navigating an unpredictable world. It challenges us to look at the wreckage of a failed endeavor not as a terminal state, but as the raw material for our next evolution. If this conversation shifted how you view your own setbacks and challenges, send this episode to a friend who might need a new perspective on their own storms.